So, what drew you to practice in primary care?
Uh, Primary care is, to me, is one of the broadest, or it's a base of medicine. I would put it this way. So people that are working in primary care, I feel like they have the broader knowledge of medicines, and they are helping more people than people that have specialties.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also a great way to prevent people from having to go to other specialists as well if they're regularly seeing their primary care provider.
Yes,
Um,
yes, it is that gateway in medicines. It just is so broad, and I think that's where the medicine started. So a good primary care doctor can help a lot of people.
yeah, couldn't agree more. So how did you first learn about the National Health Service Corps and why did you ultimately decide to apply?
Yeah, I learned about the National Health Service Corps in while I was applying at PH school. When I went to financial aid office, there was a flyer. I remember exactly where it was. It was at the corner of the table of my financial aid counselor. I apply, I was accepted, and then we start weighing my options of where to get scholarship, loan money, and then she last said that there's also National Health Service Scholarship, very competitive. No hope to get in there because a lot of people apply for that. She gave me that flyer. I went right away and applied for it. So I applied for it, and to be honest with you, my first applications, I didn't sign it, or I didn't complete it for some reason. It was sent back to me, and then I brought it to my financial aid counselor and say, look at my, they sent this to me and I did not complete it. He's like, oh, yeah, Gatbel, that's good. At least they are looking at it, you know. I remember those moments because it's become life changing to me. So I find it at financial aid office while I was applying.
Gotcha. And so you kind of already touched on this a little bit, but what was the application process for NHSC like?
I remember it was very lengthy. There's a lot of question in it. And that's why I think I forget to sign it at the last minute, but they was so nice to me, and instead of throwing it away, they sent it back to me and say, you need to sign this page. And I did, and I sent it back.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that feedback before about all the information that you need to provide. So, like, I'm sure it happens all the time. They probably expect it. But what advice would you give to students who are interested in applying to the National Health Service Corps?
Yeah, to be honest with you, this is one of the life-changing scholarship I had. I would tell any students who wanted to serve people, generally serve people, is to give it a shot. This is it's overwhelming when you think about what you can get from the government, because a lot of people will discourage you that nobody will even look at it. It's so many people, but you give it a shot. Put it as one of your things that you need to get while you go to school, and you will like it if you get some.
Yeah, and if you don't try to apply, you'll never know.
Yes.
So can you describe the process of finding an employment site to fulfill the service commitment portion of the National Health Service Corps program?
Yeah, this question is tied back to the application process again. When I applied for my application, the application itself was lengthy, but the most scary part was the interview. When I did my interview in Washington D.C., that was one of the toughest interview I've ever been as a student. When I start doing PhD school, I was young by then. There were like 3 people in the room looking me eye to eye. After I'd done that interview, get the scholarship, everything just become so smooth. My communication was good. Matter of fact, getting a job was one of the most easy thing I got. I went to a conference. They invited me in a year before I graduated, and then I pay interest to some of the job site that I could get to. Then immediately when I did my board after I graduated, I went to Africa. As you can see, I'm an African. I went to Africa. Then From there, I I was told that I was offered a job at the state of Colorado. That was how easy it was. Got my job while I was in vacation. So
That's great. That's
that,
awesome.
that was the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine. Oh, that's good to hear though, that it got easier after you got through that interview.
Yes, yes.
So you mentioned that you were a scholarship recipient. So how did you interact with HRSA while you were in school and then once you began your service commitment?
We interact with emails, a lot of emails. Sometimes I get a phone call just to ask how I was doing, how things are going. One thing that I find out as a scholar is they encourage you a lot. The goal is when you get the scholarship, you are encouraged to succeed. And I love that. It was like a mentor behind me. You know, when I came to this country, I didn't have parents. I was one of the lost boys of Sudan. So I didn't have family a lot to fall into. So this scholarship service to become my family beside the school. You know, I know there are people that are counting on me, that are paying for my school. I can't let them down. I have to succeed. It just kind of put everything together that I needed, and I love it.
Yeah, it must have been nice to have that support.
Yes.
So what would you say to a student or a graduate who's hesitant about the service commitment due to concerns over their salary or working with challenging patient populations?
I would tell them to, first of all, when you go to PA school, your job is to succeed PA school, to graduate. After graduating from PA school, it's to get a job. If you have a scholarship like this, getting a job would not be an issue. And apparently, I don't think it's an issue to how much money I need to make, because you don't have experience yet. You want to go to the service of medicines knowing that you are new, you're fresh. Your competition is to get into the medicine practice. But having practice with National Service Scholarships is also very good, because now you have a backing of a government. So you're not worried about your school loan, because I think when I went there, the only bill that I worry about at that time, because I don't know how to spend like I do now, I went with less bill, and the only bill I had was school loan, and I knew it was going to be taken care of. So salary to me was not an issue, because I didn't have that high expectation, high expense of how much money of a luxury life that I want to live. I still want to live a simple life, but I want somebody to at least pay for my school, and you got it there. So I would encourage you as a PA student, if you are listening to this is the best transitions from your school as a student to your career as a medical practitioner. It will give you a peace of mind, and the population that you're going to be served are the real populations that need your services. Because once you get to primary care and the served area, you will see a lot of patients with variety of medical issues. And that's what you want to see at your first few years as a clinician. I would encourage you to do it.
Yeah, and I'm sure it makes you much more well-rounded in your practice. That's a great point. So what has been your proudest moment as an NHSC clinician?
One of my proudest moments is knowing that I have served the populations of underserved in the United States of America, because I knew myself I was at their shoes. You know, when I came from Africa, I was refugees. You know, I went to underserved clinics as a student in Tennessee State. I remember going to salute clinics, try to see somebody, because I didn't have money. I was working as a waiter, as a student. So when I went through National Health Service and knowing that I'm going to the same place, or I'm in almost the same place serving underserved people, it just leave an album on my chest. I feel like I have done my dues, and I still want to do that. It gave me a connection, a different perspective of how the United States is serving the people. I feel like there is a branch of government out there who want to help everybody. It's not about all making money. And you will also feel that you are changing medicines. As a clinician, you will find one time that people are talking, people go to medicine to make money. But if you have done underserved people, you will tell them no. There are times that we actually serve real people who have nothing. And that is your missionary as a clinician. So I'm proud of that.
As you should be, for sure.
Thank you.
So what skills, and you kind of already spoke to this a little bit before, what skills have you gained from your service commitment, and how will these skills benefit you throughout your career as a PA?
So when I start working for the state of Colorado. I work at one of the max prisons in Colorado, serving male populations. It was like a clinic in prisons. Scary, but honestly, it was one of the easier job you do. Prisoner love the clinician there. So then I tend to do everything from just simple lacerations all the way to taking care of diabetics patients. So that gave me a good broad knowledge of working in isolated area where I have to apply my knowledge to the max. So then when I served that for 5 years to pay back my scholarship, I didn't want to leave. So I signed up for another 5 years through the loan payments. That becomes 10 years. So you see how much I love it. Then I decide that, okay, now I want to do emergency medicine. Right now, I'm practicing emergency school. My transition from there to emergency medicine became so easy. I still love it that I did that, because in emergency medicines, there is a lot of primary care there. And I see a lot of PA that are coming straight from PA school to emergency medicine struggling, because an emergency physician do not expect you to ask them about allegiance or a mall, or you expect to know what primary care provider should know, because you're going to be we are operating at a higher pace of medicine. But that scholarship had helped me to build that ground, get to that level, and I'm very confident. It make my life easy. It make my practice very, very, very well rounded.
That's great to hear.
Thank you.
So the last question that we had was, what has kept you practicing in an underserved community after you had fulfilled your service commitment?
It's because I built to love those people that I was serving. I feel the need of staying more because I feel like they need my services. I shouldn't just practice because I want to pay my school off and leave. They became a family to me, so I decided to stay more.